Well, hey there. This is one of my first videos. I don't really have an intro. I don't really have anything like that yet. I'll eventually make it. I don't exactly have many plans, but I plan to do a bunch of random stuff, whatever people want to see. Shit like that. I may do things with my friends, but for a first video, I'm going to be playing a very weird game called GORF. Very, very interesting. Not a very good game, but decent enough, I guess. It's basically a Space Invaders clone. Yeah, pretty much. That's all it is. With a friend, I've created something called the GORF lore. Don't ask what it is. It's basically us. We think GORF is extremely hilarious for no reason. It's really not. So yeah, I'm just gonna one of my first series will be me playing GORF and talking about life for no reason, or something like that. So let's start playing this for some fucking reason. There we go. If you don't know. Yeah, we just, with a friend of mine, we started something called the GORF lore, because, I got GORF in, I bought it at 600. This came in a bundle with the 2600. So, yeah, I just had this game. I was debating getting rid of it, but I told my friend about it, and he's like, no, this is hilarious. And then we ended up learning about GORF and finding out that it had a very interesting history. Very weird, and it's also semi-popular for some reason. People remember it fondly, which is weird to me. Don't ask me. I don't know. GORF is an enigma. I don't know. I might play games with my friends. Maybe Team Fortress 2 or stuff, but almost just alone. I don't know if I'll ever make videos with them, because they can be very confusing. No offense to them. Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah, but, yeah, apparently there's many parts of this game, which is also weird. Like, exactly, like, I seem to find new ports, but there's like 8 or 5 ports that I know of. Way too many than there should be, to be honest. I don't know, just a weird game. Very weird game. Maybe I'll get a for other 2600 games. Maybe better 2600 games than this one. I'm doing bad. But I'm not really doing bad because I'm bad at the game. Because I can tear some stuff up in the arcade version of Space Invaders. This is basically a rip-off of Space Invaders, the version. Yeah, like, if you actually feel the controls, it's just bad. And then there's enemies that move way too fast. Another thing like that. Enemies that move way too fast for their own good. Stuff like that. I don't know. Apparently this game was the first to have digitized speech, or one of the first. And that's really the only thing it has to go for it. This version doesn't have it because this is the 2600 port. Stuff like that. This is just a shitty year, so GORF will just be that and make it better. I hope. Who knows? Fuck. I died. Oh. This is wonderful. I'm having a real great time playing this really good game. I love gaming. I sure do. Yeah. Oh, and also another thing I may do on this channel is talk about ideas I have. One thing that you know about me, may learn about me the time you watch this channel, or even if you stay, is that I play mostly older games. I love older. I own a lot of hardware and stuff like that. Some of my favorite stuff, like, I didn't live in it. I've always grown up with it. Like, some of the first games I ever seen played were Sonic 3 and the original Mario. And I've grown a love for them. Mario and Sonic are probably two of my favorites. Yeah, I know. But Sonic's good. But, like, yeah, like, if Sonic was never good, Sonic wouldn't be around today, is the thing. Like, Sonic 3 is one of my favorite games. It's just so good to play. And I also love Mario 3. Mario 3 and Sonic 3 are two of my favorite games to ever come out. Of course, there's other games I love that aren't. Yeah. Yeah. But actually, I also may talk about some game ideas I yeah, yeah, I've been working on the game for about 7 years now. Close to that. But I've always wanted to make it for older consoles and stuff like that. I've just always had that inspiration for it and stuff like that, so I'll probably be talking about that if anyone's interested. I have a lot of ideas for it and stuff like that. And stuff, you know. I won't be playing GORF for a bit just to talk about this, because I don't want to say anything wrong or stuff like that. But, yeah, I'll talk about that if anyone's interested. You know, I actually have the ideas pretty developed and stuff like that. The newest idea is the one I have right now, and I'm planning to try and have it come out. I want to have it out by this point. I have a lot of ideas. If anyone wants to hear about it, I'm sure. Actually, one of my ideas is making something, a game with a Super Effects chip. Yeah, what-powered Star Fox and games like that. Which, if I have time, I could play some Star Fox. Something like that. Fucking love that game. It's a good game. especially taking into account it's a 3D game running on a 16-bit console, but technically it's not a 16-bit game. A little confusing. Stuff like that. It's a little confusing, but I like it. Had to do what we could do to get stuff like that. And, yeah, but it's gonna be like a little series on its own. They'll all go under the same name. Actually, it's the beginning of a new one. They'll all go under the same name, but there'll be like multiple like mini series inside of it. Like the one that's going to be on the next year will be a shooter. It won't be entirely a shooter, but it will definitely take inspiration from Star Fox. I want to do a shooter because that's one of the main inspirations I've had. I've always wanted to do a shooter. But I do want to do things different. I want to do something original, and I have an idea to do that. I won't give off too much, but I plan to release 4 games in the miniseries. The first one being released on the Atari 2600, based off of a Atari 2600 game called Solaris. Very good game for it, and why I want to do that is because Solaris really reminds me of Star Fox, but it came out before Star Fox on the Atari 2600. It's very interesting the way it used sprite scaling to create its visual effects. Like other games that tried to do that on more powerful hardware sometimes did it worse. Of course, Solaris may not have looked as good, but it had way smoother sprite scaling and animations, which is just weird to say. It's cool. I really like Solaris. Just everything reminds me of Star Fox, like flying through things, the planets flying past, the way the enemies move. So I want to make a game that's inspired by that, and then make one that's inspired by Star Fox. And yeah. So Star Fox and Solaris are 2 big inspirations. I do want to add in platforming sections, 3D platforming sections, stuff like that. The 4 games will all be released on different stuff. Like the first one will be released on the Atari 2600. One will be released for the Super FX chip. One will be released for the Super FX chip 2, which, if you don't know what that is, not many games used it. I'm pretty sure Yoshi's Island used it, and Star Fox 2, which was a game that wasn't released, but it's released now, but when it was first made, it wasn't released. It used the Super FX chip 2, and it had... The Super FX chip 2 could do higher poly. It handled textures. I wouldn't even really call them textures, but yeah. I guess you could call them that, but the textures worked a lot better. You don't see many textures in the first Star Fox, or really any game for the Super FX chip one, because they didn't really work that well. Or, like, they did work, you would see them, but they just didn't really look that good, and you couldn't keep much detail in them. But I do want to do one thing for these games, like, yeah, I want to have them have a lot of detail and stuff like that. And I really want to squeeze as much as I can out of them, as much as I can. Oh, and I forgot to talk about the fourth game. I'm getting sidetracked. Fourth game, the fourth and final game will be released on the N64, if that's possible. There may not be a fourth game. The third game may be the final one, because around the N64 is not very easy to develop for. It's like, yeah, so I don't know if it'll be made or anything like that, but I want to try at least. But yeah, there will be ports, like ports to the Sega SMB, which There was only one game, it was the Sega SMB, and it was based on Sega's Super Effects chip, which actually the SMB could push out better graphics than the Super Effects chip did. But it was more expensive, and there was only ever one game made for it, and it had a 15 color. A 15, it only had 15 colors. Yeah, like the Sega Genesis has a bigger color, but it doesn't exactly. Yeah, stuff like that. I want to release the second one. And I do want to release the 32X. I know the 32X may not be that good, but it's the answer to Nintendo Super. And to be honest, it's not bad hardware. It just when the N64 is completely different. It has bad hardware and good games. But yeah, the Sega 32X, they rushed the games. Sega basically killed the 32X because they rushed. That's the thing they do. They make rush products. And that's what eventually killed them and made them into what they are now. Fucking Sega, man. I love them and hate them. I guess it's the same thing for really anyone like that. I love them and I hate them. At the end of the day, they're still a company. Shit like that. As sad as that is to say. Yeah, and yeah, I don't know what to do for that. Yeah, it will also be released. Atari actually had a 16-bit console. It didn't really have 3D stuff like the Super Effects chip or stuff like that, but if I can, I still want to release a port on that. It's basically their 16-bit console was a repackaged version of one of their 16-bit computer lines. So they basically repackaged it and put it in a case, and you could play it at home and stuff like that. Interesting. So I may actually have to have new hardware made for that to make that one possible. It may not happen, but I want it to happen because, yeah. And if there's a fourth game, it'll be released on the N64, Sega Saturn, and Atari Jaguar. The Jaguar one, I'm not sure will happen, because the Jaguar is just like the N64 in that it's not easy to develop for. It's not very good hardware. But the Atari Jaguar has it just so much worse in every way. Yeah. There was one good game for the Atari Jaguar, though, and that's Tempest 2000. Yeah. Tempest is a good game, and it's one of the only saving graces of the Atari Jaguar. And also, a little fun fact, there was a planned version of GORF for the Atari Jaguar CD, which that was in 1995, so there was... it was the original arcade version from 1981 as well, so that's just really funny to me. Like, they were gonna release a GORF... They were gonna release a GORF port on a new generation console. At the time, at least. Like, did a 64-bit console really need a CD version of GORF? Like, just tell me. Did it? But apparently they found that out They found like a floppy disk with a game on it. And it's just like, why did the Atari an offer for GORF? I don't know. GORF was basically, Atari was just doing bad at that point. But yeah, that's a little insight on that. This is, sorry if this is long, it's just kind of an introduction. Tell me if you want to see more GORF. And yeah, I will release updates and stuff on progress and stuff like that if anyone wants. Just so everyone knows, I'm not going to ask you to subscribe or anything like that. Like you people watching YouTube are probably enough to know what they like. I don't have to ask them to subscribe, but I just feel like it's rude to ask people to subscribe to you. So I won't do that. I think this will be the last way. So tell me if you want to see more, or something like that. Oh, I actually got past that. Oh, it ended. Well, I guess that's, bye. See everyone later. I'll try and come up with some stuff and get that. But yeah, see you next time.